Hello everyone. Kind of just wanted to make this video to put out there my experience of losing weight. I think it's a big issue that a lot of people face. A lot of people could become trapped in this mindset that they can't, that they're kind of going to be stuck with their situation forever. And I kind of did too, but I think that's really just it's kind of a mental thing. You just kind of got to get over it and overcome what you're going through. So yeah, this is my first video on this channel. I kind of just wanted to make this one to sort of share my experiences, make something that's, kind of relatable, that people can listen to and enjoy, maybe learn from. I've been through quite a bit, still am, but yeah, so let's get started. So to start this out, I kind of just wanted to give some insight into how I managed to become overweight. I wasn't always kind of in that mindset. I started out relatively healthy, I think. I played Little League as a child, so that was kind of one of my outlets to be somewhat normal for the first couple of years. I think at some point I ended up just kind of deciding to quit. I played for, I believe, 2 or 3 seasons. I think the third one I decided that it wasn't for me anymore. I kind of just wasn't fitting in with the team. I think we had got a new coach, and a lot of the other kids were kind of just not like me. This kind of coincided with whenever I first started getting into playing games. My dad brought home an Xbox 360 around the time I was about 5 or 6, and all my attention got devoted to that. So much so that I think that was part of the reason why I ended up quitting Little League and then kind of becoming more of an inside child. That kind of led to sort of, me finding YouTube and everything, and me just deciding that it would be better to just sit around, play games, watch YouTube, and do that, which honestly, that still kind of follows me today, and I kind of want to make a video in the future about that. But in any case, this kind of led to me just ballooning up very slowly throughout elementary school, and it was fine until kind of about fourth grade. I think that's kind of where kids started to become less tolerant of it. In fourth grade, I kind of got thrown away from a lot of my friends that I had made over the years. A lot of them started going into different classes. I think that's around the time that the gifted and talented program started taking into effect, which for whatever reason I wasn't in. I definitely should have been, because I was definitely acing like everything, but either way, so I ended up kind of being left with more of the people that I had no experience with. And I think that's a big reason why I ended up experiencing what I did. I kind of had like nobody at all for the first, I'd say, couple months. Well, let me rewind that. I actually was in one class for a few months, and then I was just randomly switched to another one. And that really, like, I had nobody in there. It took me a few months to like even finally begin to somewhat make friends. And that I felt very isolated, and kind of my only outlet was playing games, being online. And I think that's a big part of the reason where I started my kind of trend upwards. Eventually fifth grade came along and things started to get better. It was kind of realized that I was a smart kid in the class, and that sort of earned me a little bit of friends just from being able to like answer questions or like, straight up do things for people. But still, it kind of followed that these people weren't really my friends, and that, that it just is what it is. It was kind of I'd say it was more of like a transactional relationship. It wasn't really a friendship. Either way, eventually middle school came, and it kind of brought a whole new era or ability to recreate myself. I remember showing up there and just being like, wow, there's this whole new world in front of me. I ended up signing up for band and choir at that time. It was kind of odd juggling the two, but in either way, I managed to do it, and I managed to even meet back up with some of my old friends in those programs. Some people from elementary school, even some people from preschool over the years, which is kind of interesting. But I kind of started to notice that my friend group was sort of kind of quote unquote the outcast group. I mean, band kids are band kids are band kids, but that's neither here nor there. Either way, I was never fully in like the in group, quote unquote, and that kind of sort of didn't sit right with me. I mean, you know, I was on like a semi like I know who you are, you know who I am, but it wasn't like friendship type of deal. And I wouldn't necessarily just attribute this to me being overweight, but I would definitely attribute it to my being inside for a long time. I think me being inside and me being closed off managed to kind of make me into that kid, quote unquote. And y'all know who I'm talking about. The kid that would not stop making Minecraft YouTube references in class. Yeah, that was me. That's just kind of how I was throughout the entirety of middle school. While people were kind of growing up and beginning to find themselves, I was desperately hanging on to being this like cringy kid. And I think I still also kind of feel that today as I'm kind of just reaching up from the depths to try and find my childhood. I think I'll make a video on that soon, but we'll see. In late middle school, I ended up going into athletics. It's a class that you take whenever you want to do sports, and I kind of just took it as sort of a AP gym in my mind because we did more things. I think eventually I had the idea that I was going to do shot put and maybe football, but those kind of just never came around. I remember distinctly being told, "Oh, you're fat. You'll be good at football." So, you know, I figured why not. That's kind of that class brought. I say class. That section kind of brought in me a distinct hate for cardio and exercise because we weren't. I personally kind of just wanted to go hit weights and do all that stuff, and the class like didn't do that. We just ran. That was all we did. So it kind of put this little thing in me that like every day I was going home sore because we were just running, and it was, this sucks. I don't want to do this. I want to go home and like, you know, do nothing now. I think this kind of gave more fuel to the fire in that I now had an excuse to just stay the way that I was. And this kind of carried into high school when I managed to become my biggest ever. In high school, we were required to take one gym class, so I took it my freshman year. And most of the time, we kind of just sat in the corner playing Clash Royale. And that's not a joke. In gym class, we were playing Clash Royale. You could argue esports, but shut up. After I took that gym class, I went right back to my old ways of legit just forgetting that exercise existed and became kind of just, you know, that kid again. By this point, I was taking pre-APs, APs, so if I wasn't, you know, playing games or anything, then I was kind of just becoming smarter, I guess. Eventually, in my sophomore year, I kind of decided that I wanted to start making changes in my life. I kind of realized that my strategy of just sitting inside and playing video games and eating food wasn't the best thing in the world. So I started trying to branch out. I started to get on more social media, try to make more friends. And, you know, that kind of formed some of the relationships that I would have had for the rest of high school, and even some that I have today. This branching out kind of continued into my junior year, whenever I've actually started taking AP classes, and I managed to make friends with some of the more like kind of normal people, quote unquote. I think this was kind of a big push for me to shrink down because I wanted to be more like the other people. Sort of more of my friends were less outcasts and more just like, you know, the quote unquote popular group, or like, you know, the kind of the more skinny athletic kids, if you know what I mean. In any case, this kind of spearheaded into my senior year when I finally decided that I had enough. So at some point throughout my late junior to early senior year, I finally decided to step on the scale and see kind of where I was at. This was after months of kind of just feeling like I am too big. You know, I had my roles. I was just feeling very, very sluggish, and I could not imagine, you know, how unhealthy I was. So eventually I stepped on the scale and I was somewhere around 325 pounds. And that was kind of just really shocking to me. I honestly didn't think that I was over 300 pounds, but being there was kind of a wake-up call for me. Now, I had kind of thought around with the idea of losing weight over the years. I've kind of, I started cutting back every once in a while, but it never really lasted. I think during my junior year, I had a small little stint of, just working out my arms, and people kind of started to notice, but I also kind of quit that. And then eventually I finally discovered intermittent fasting. I don't remember exactly how. If I had to imagine, probably on Reddit. That's kind of where my journey started. I learned that it was kind of this easy way to just lose weight, purely lose weight. You can sit there and do nothing and lose weight. It's perfect. It kind of first started with just cutting out lunch, having water throughout the day, typical things that you kind of want to do, literally just eating less. I started also eating, or rather not eating, after 10 p.m. That kind of became a rule for me. A lot of those things that people just kind of say to do and you're like, that'll never work. No, it did for me. And eventually I found some apps. I think the one that I used for a while is called Fastic. It allows you to track your times. So I would start my fast around 10 p.m. every night, and around 5 to 6 every day I would end it, eat, turn it back on at 10 after having my dinner, maybe a little snack afterwards, and that was it. Between 10 to 6 would just be water. That's all I would have, and I did that for about a year, 2 years. It honestly wasn't that long between starting and seeing results. You drop your water weight really quickly. A lot of people usually see probably 15 to 25 pounds just kind of gone within a couple weeks to a few months, just because it really goes away really quickly. After that, progress slows quite a bit. I think within a few months, people kind of started to take notice, like, hey, you're a little bit smaller, your clothes are fitting a little bit looser now. And that was kind of sort of a confirmation to keep going. This journey's not over. I set my goal weight at around 175 pounds, and I think by the end of the year, I was down to 196. By the time I graduated, I could barely fit in my robe that I had bought months prior. And that was seriously a dream of mine. Still now, the fact that I can put on my graduation robe from high school and A, fit in it, and B, have it feel like just a gigantic cloak feels great. It's also worth mentioning that my senior year of high school was whenever COVID hit. It hit March. By the time the year was done, it was full swing. We did not have a graduation, did not have a prom. Our graduation was online, YouTube graduation. I can still pull it up and look at it now. There was no stage to walk on. Either way, COVID even though I was still inside and wasn't really doing much, I still was losing weight because fasting it's just sort of in idle time, I guess to put it into gamer terms, it's like an AFK farming method of losing weight. You kind of just sit there, don't eat anything, drink water, and magically you're smaller. It's lovely. A lot of people ask me how I managed to do it for so long and how I managed to get over the initial hurdle. And it was kind of just one of those things that I did. I started in around, I think, late 2019. And I only stopped a few months ago whenever I started hitting the gym more and started to take that more seriously and went on my first bulk. Like I said, it's just kind of one of those things that I had to just do. I can't really explain exactly when the turning point was. It was just I found it and it was a solution to my problems, so I started doing it. It's kind of a similar thing that I did with the gym, and I'll talk about that later. But when the time's right, you'll do it. So in July of 2020, I stepped on the scale, and for the first time in years, I saw a number under 200 pounds. It was actually 194.2. So I overshot it by nearly 5 or 6 pounds. And that's kind of where I was happy. I took my ID picture for my university ID around that time, and it was really jarring to see that picture next to the one that was on my high school ID. Within a few more months of just dedicating to this kind of project, I managed to finally reach sort of my goal, which is 175. And I kind of had a lot of people say, oh, you're gonna get down there, stop, and then go right back up, because that's kind of how that's how you're led to believe that fasting works. You kind of teach yourself this thing, and then when it's time to go back to being normal after fasting, you're just going to balloon up again because you taught yourself this is not how you eat. So yeah, frankly, that's not how it works. At least in my case. The process of fasting taught me completely to revamp my way of how I treat food. Before, it was kind of just like, oh, I'm hungry, let me just go grab something, it's a snack. And then I was snacking all day, which was very toxic to my health. Fasting kind of taught me that I need to take into account every single thing that I eat and make it count. Because if I only have one meal per day, it needs to be, you know, nutritious, it needs to be filling. And I still kind of take that today, that everything that I eat needs to have a purpose. So for about 3 years, I managed to hang around this, my kind of goal weight, which was 175, only fluctuating up or down maybe 5 to 10 pounds between, you know, summer breaks, winter breaks, all that kind of stuff. And then I only stopped around early this year, maybe late last year, and that's only because I started going to the gym. So when I got to college, I now gained access to a host of gyms on my campus. I go to Texas A&M, so we've got like 3 or 4 different ones available to us. I always said that I'm gonna go, and I never did. It took me until kind of my first senior year to finally, you know, take the plunge. I think I went once as like a date type of thing. That didn't go well. I think I nearly passed out or something. Probably not the best idea to go to the gym for the first time with little water in your body and like a cheeseburger. So, you know, learning experience there. Still haven't taught myself that lesson, but you know what? We don't talk about it. The entire time I kept saying that I'm gonna go, because I just kind of felt unhappy again. Because even though I was small, I lost all the weight. I look semi-normal. I still kind of had just a flabby body-ish. If anybody who's ever lost weight's watching this, you know what I'm talking about. You don't look like just a normal person. You kind of still look semi-fat. You look skinny fat is kind of how I'd put it. You still have sort of the overall shape of a fat person, just without the fat. It's kind of weird, and it's something that anybody taking this journey on might want to take into consideration. If I were personally doing it again, I would probably start going to the gym while I was fasting, which I was kind of told to do, and now I understand why. You kind of want your body to grow into itself instead of just shrinking down really quickly and then expecting to fix it all later. But anyway, I finally decided that I had enough, and in September of last year, I finally decided to actually start going to the gym. One of my friends that goes here had always wanted to go too. So I was like, all right, screw it, we're going. We're doing this, we're gonna commit to it, and it's gonna be great. So we went for about like 2 or 3 times together. And then bro kind of just like was like, nah, I'm too busy for this. So I ended up just like, I was like, I'm not quitting. So I kept going, and I've been going for like over a year now. And you know, I still have my complications, but I definitely feel a lot better, and it's become a very important part of my routine every single day. But one part about going to the gym is that you kind of have to you're expected to follow this cycle of bulking and cutting. And while I'm decent at losing weight, I had to, you know, coax myself into learning how to bulk, because I had spent 3-ish years trying to not gain weight. So I had to teach myself how to eat again. During my first bulk, which I kind of mainly focused on during this past summer of 2024, I kind of had to overcome this fear of breaking back into old habits of just, you know, shoving food in my face, like junk food in my face anytime. I had to start kind of focusing on how to clean bulk instead of dirty bulking, which is kind of memed on in the, you know, lifting community. But either way, this was something that I had to overcome. I managed to successfully hit my bulk target at the end of the summer, and subsequently cut down, you know, a little bit during the semester, and now I think I'm about to start my second bulk here in the winter. I think my only issue is that, yes, my body has transformed and I feel kind of stronger, and people say that like, wow, you're built. I don't feel that way. I still kind of sometimes look at myself and see really skinny arms, dainty little legs, and a big belly, and kind of convince myself that I still might be 300 pounds, even though the scale doesn't say so. It's kind of just one of those things that I don't think I'll ever truly get over. I think body dysmorphia is a very real thing, and I don't think I'll ever lose it. So I think a lot of people will ask kind of what I noticed change between going from being really big and now being really small. And to be honest, not that much. I think a lot of people have this misconception that whenever you lose weight, magically just like women appear around you and all these doors open up in life, and really it's kind of just not that simple. Most of the thing is life kind of just goes on. Most of the satisfaction is kind of within yourself, and if you have friends that you've had since you were big, they'll kind of know the things that you've gone through. Like me personally, I know that when I was smaller, I kind of got more drive to go out and do things and be more active, go exploring. I didn't really feel as overcome with my own self when I was smaller. I do notice every once in a while, and kind of reflecting back on it, that people treat me a little bit more differently than they did whenever I was big. A lot of people found me intimidating, and they still kind of do, but I think more so when I was big. When I lost weight was kind of around the first time that I had my first relationship. And I think kind of being smaller, being less intimidating, and feeling more confident to actually go after things was what led me into that, and becoming, kind of learning a lot about myself through that. But like I said, a lot of the feeling is going to be internal. A lot of people are not going to be like, wow, people don't know what you went through that don't know you. So people are just going to see you're you. And whenever you tell them that you lost 125 pounds, they're going to be like, wow, cool. Anywho, but this journey is kind of something that you do for yourself. You shouldn't do it to seek satisfaction of others. You should do it for your long-term health and to just kind of feel better as you are. Another thing people will ask is, do you feel comfortable with what you did to lose weight? And to that I say, absolutely. I would definitely, if I was put in the same situation, like if I spawned in tomorrow as my, beginning of high school senior year self, 325 pounds, would I do it again? Absolutely. It was a journey that I learned a lot about myself on, and, a lot about kind of how people interact with others. It was a very big learning and a very big growing opportunity for me. Now, with that said, I probably would do it a little bit differently. I think I probably would have listened to what other people were saying to me at the time, that if I hit the gym while I was big and while I was using all that energy and still had it, I would have ended up probably becoming more of a unit than I am now. I definitely would have skipped that awkward couple years where I was just really like paper thin, and would have just been sort of normal throughout my college and being able to grow even bigger and reach my goals a lot faster. One thing I will say is that there's kind of a stigma around fasting. I know a lot of people are like, is that even healthy? Can you even do that? I know I mentioned earlier that a lot of people are just like, once you're done fasting, you're gonna quit, you're gonna balloon back up, and you're gonna be right at square one again. I kind of took this as like a challenge, A lot of people say, you can't do this, it's gonna fail. I'm like, no, it's not. I've been doing this for how long now? I'm not quitting now, and I'm not going back to how I was. And I know why a lot of people have these kind of opinions, and it's because fasting is a very easy, slippery slope to go down into eating disorders. And personally, that was just never an issue for me. I kind of was able to have my level of self-control and knew that I wasn't the type of person to feed into that. So whenever these people would say that, like, this is unhealthy, you're gonna quit, I kind of just ignored them. And even now, if I recommend fasting to somebody and they have these kind of things, I'm just like, listen, you can listen to what I'm saying, you can look at me and see the results firsthand, or you can, still keep searching for your solution to this problem. I'm going to close this out with kind of some advice. If you think that fasting is a solution for you, then honestly, go for it. It's one of the best things that I've ever done in my life, one of the best changes that I've ever taken advantage of. I think that there's kind of a lot of noise surrounding fasting. I think a lot of people I know in my experience, some people almost kind of seem mad that I kind of just lost all this weight by doing nothing while they've been trying for years and nothing's worked. I think at some point you just need to tune out the noise and go for it. It's kind of one of those awkward changes, but if you're really determined, you're going to do it. My personal advice is that if you're going to do it, you know, get educated, be smart about it. As I said earlier, it's very easy to fall into an eating disorder when you're doing fasting. I never personally had a problem with it because I knew what I was doing, but somebody that's kind of just very mentally on the edge might fall into it extremely easy, and it's something to be aware of. Really, all there is to it is just take the leap. If you're done with your situation, if you're kind of tired of being overweight, if you've been overweight for a while, if you keep looking in the mirror and saying, ew, then it's gonna happen and it's gonna be great. So yeah, I'll see y'all in the next video, and good luck on your journeys.